guys. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Today we've got Chris, Luis, and Johnny, as well as myself, Xavier. And, just to keep the tradition going, I wanted to go ahead and ask everybody how their day was. So, Johnny and your mimosa drinking ass, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I had a great day today. Went to lunch with my buddies and they pranked me. They got me something from a kids menu instead of something that I wanted. I was trying to get a salad. We went to I think it was the counter. I don't eat hamburgers, right? So I
A
was like, oh,
salad.
I'll just get a salad, because I'm doing well with my diet. And they tell the
I can
waitress and
tell,
they
Johnny.
they
You look good.
bring me. Thank you. They bring me they bring me a kids menu with a kids cup and a grilled cheese sandwich. I wasn't mad. I was like, oh, you guys saw the picture. I'll post it up.
You should.
And it
Yeah.
was tight. I was like, it is what it is, and I turned it around, and it's tight. But I
What,
had a great day. I'm having a great week. Thanks for asking.
Chris, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm glad for this weekend. Rough, tough week. Shit's always crazy, but I'm excited to be with y'all.
Awesome, man. Luis, I know you're feeling great after yesterday's win.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Everything else is good.
All right.
Oh, this is fine.
Man.
This is
No.
fine.
They're doing bad. The Niners
hey,
suck.
Johnny, put me in that little fiery room and then the little. I'm fine.
So I have to do much. I have to do more editing. I have to magically put you in a fire
Just
room.
a little
Thanks.
bit.
Yeah, I got it.
You
Fire
got
room.
this. You can figure it out.
Speaking of being in a room full of fire,
Let's expand on that software.
I think I kind of wanted to take the time this week to talk about something with you guys and with the 5 people that watch our show religiously whenever we post it at like 11:30 at night on a Thursday. Um, I've been kind of running into some issues at work and at previous jobs with dealing with a difficult supervisor, I guess you could say. Um, Something that I don't really like dealing with is being micromanaged. And I'm wondering, do you guys experience or have experienced something similar to that effect? And, do you know it's happening to you right away, or does this kind of relationship with you and your supervisor kind of develop over time where it becomes detrimental to your progress at work? I think working in the service industry, I think Johnny, you might be able to kind of shed some light on it a little bit and kind of let us know, like, what are your thoughts on dealing with somebody that's micromanaging you or has a tendency to manage you in a way that you don't like?
Sure. It's gonna happen. No matter where you guys are at, whether you're in the service industry like me or you're somewhere else. It's always gonna happen. You're always gonna have a different opinion whether you're dealing with your wife, your girlfriend, your dad, your mom, significant other, your brothers, sisters, or your boss, right? So it's going to happen sometimes, but it all depends on kind of how you deal with it, how you adapt. So um I don't like being micromanaged, but it comes with the territory. Is much, I know you guys know me pretty well, and I know I have a pretty big, ego. But when it comes to work, oddly enough, I don't. So I think that's why I've excelled wherever I go, and I do well. Is I take everything with a grain of salt, and I run with it. So you can kind of tell if I don't want to say if someone doesn't like you, but sometimes people get in their head like, hey, and I do this. I get this a lot that hey, this guy doesn't really care. So way back at HD Supply, if you guys recall, if you guys have ever worked with me, anyone watching this, knows I whistle at work, I sing, I'm always happy, I'm
So while
always
you work, man,
correct, right?
you
I'm
gotta have
always
fun
doing my
while you're
thing.
doing things.
Correct. I agree with you. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm happy. I try to keep upbeat and go from there. But sometimes it could be taken, especially if your boss or your district manager shows up. They see it as a snapshot. Like, hey, they're not there all the time. They just see the snapshot, and I get pegged as this guy who doesn't really care, at work because he doesn't take things serious. And I get that a lot. When I was at HD Supply, when Tim took over, he thought the same thing. Is like, dude, this guy's always joking around. He's always singing. He's always doing his thing, and the store's not doing so well. What the fuck's this guy's problem? and you can kind of feel the writing on the wall. You can sense when someone doesn't like you. I think you guys can all attest to that. So I think it really all depends.
Was he?
Go ahead.
Were you getting micromanaged there, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, Luis
At
and
HD
Xavier, you guys
Supply,
can attest to it.
you're-
Yeah, at HD Supply. So the morning crew would come in, do their thing. All they would do was just kind of show up, and they would have more than, I want to say, 90% of the staff in the morning. And then it would just be the rest of us. And I know we always talk about HD Supply. Guys, I want anyone to know watching, it was a terrible place to work at. It's a terrible company. Look, Xavier
fun.
Smiley's like,
It
it's
was fun.
fucked. It was fun, but it was a
fun,
terrible. It was
but
fun
it was
because
also
we were there
fucked.
together. It was fucked,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, brought
Yeah.
y'all
So-
together.
It
Yeah,
did.
they micromanage. So that what they would do is be like, hey, whatever we didn't finish during the day, we're going to give to these guys at night because, hey, fuck them. That's why.
Yeah.
Because fuck,
So-
that's why.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you bring up an interesting point, and earlier you were talking about it, about not having an ego at work, and kind of taking yourself out of the picture and lending yourself to the team and being a good leader and just being cohesive with,
Mhm.
your either your department's goals or your supervisor's goals. But that brings me to another point with like Chris, right? You are big in HVAC. You got to make a lot of deals. I would think that your ego has to play into that because you see yourself as a go-getter. You see yourself as someone that's driven, independent, that can go and hustle and get things done. That's driven in largely part by your ego, right? So do you think that your ego kind of gets in your way with you and maybe your boss? Like maybe he thinks your personality might be too big, or is he totally cool with you? Or is that kind of getting in the way with you and your boss?
So I mean, I'm lucky in the spot that where I'm at now. That I mean, I have a boss. My boss is CEO, but I don't report to him. So it's me and it's my assistant. So where I'm at, and lucky for me and my situation, it I'm sorry, but it doesn't really pertain to that. I don't have somebody looking over me every day with what I'm doing. I only have somebody who sees my numbers every quarter, and that's about it. I'm left alone to do my own thing. I'm my own boss with my assistant. What, Luis?
Right. I was going to say, I mean, I would venture to guess that the reason why your boss doesn't have anything to do with you is because you're killing it at the position
Yeah.
that you're in.
You must be
Because
kicking
you're
so much
yeah,
ass.
because you're constantly succeeding, right? Because I mean, we've all been in situations where we all have bosses, and as long as we're doing our jobs, right? We've had district managers and whatnot in retail jobs and in service jobs, and as long as we're doing our jobs, we don't tend to see them as much, and you'll hear it from other guys in the district. And Chris, this might not apply to you, but Xavier and Johnny, we've heard it before, right? We get calls from other stores, other districts where the district managers constantly in those stores because they're not doing something correctly.
Right. I think right when numbers are bad or things aren't good, that's when people are over you.
Exactly.
And so I have not had to deal with that in the spot that I'm at. But I mean, previously I was right. Previously I was, assistant to someone, and I had just him looking over me on what I was doing. But I don't know. It's really tough for me because honestly, the last 10 years of my life, I've had the freedom to just kick ass, and I haven't been micromanaged. I had a boss, but I was kicking ass. So it was kind of like do your own thing, right? And now that I'm a boss, I got an assistant, and I try not to micromanage. I try, like for me now, it's like, I don't want to be fucking over her for everything she does because I know that people don't want that. But for me, I'm so used to like Johnny, I'm sure you can attest to this. Like you were over everything. You know everything what's going on. Like I was so used to doing stuff on my own because I didn't have a good assistant for such a long time that I tended to be on top of my assistant. Hey, did you order this? Hey, did you order this? When I asked, I asked this person one time to do something. And then because I'm so used to doing that myself, that when I asked her, I was not okay like just letting it be that, hey, I asked you to do this, that I'm confident you got it done, without then saying, hey, did you do it? You know, like, I don't know if you, like, they're like, hey, Chris, get off my back. You asked me to do it. I did it. You know?
Right.
I actually have people that like to be micromanaged. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh yeah.
Really?
So this person, obviously he knows a male. You guys know it's a male already, but anyways, this person enjoys having 30-minute to 1 hour meetings daily to go over work orders line by line daily.
What do you
I-
mean? Like, I'm
I
sorry. So
cannot deal with
clarify.
that, right?
So you mean like, hey, Xavier, I did A, and then I did B, and then I did C, and then D, like
line
that?
by line. So you print out an aging report. I don't know if anybody doesn't know what an aging report is. Just assume that you have tasks that you have to do for the day,
Buzzwords. Yeah.
and you've got, let's just say, for example, you've got 100 tasks. Well, most people, when they go to work, they have their tasks. They will go and complete their tasks for the day and clock out. Some people don't do that, and so they need their manager, like a Johnny, like a Luis, or like a Chris, to come over and say, here's your printed report. Let's go through each one of these tasks together, wasting not only my time, but your
Right.
time to review these tasks. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, I just can't. I
I
can't.
hate that.
Like, get out of my face. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with it.
I told you to do it. Handle it. I don't
Yeah.
want to
So-
fucking go over this shit.
Go take
Right?
care of it.
So are you saying this is before the work's done or after the work's done?
This is before the work is done, my friend. So
Got it.
exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like to be micromanaged, you are a masochist and you're sick. So
That is
Yep.
true. That is.
No,
I'll
man.
give you that.
don't. So, anyways,
Yes.
let me get back on track with you guys really quick. So, it sounds like we all kind of dealt with a scenario, or at least somebody or someone in a job where, it's horrible boss. What is your key trigger for that to know right away? Like, Luis, how do you know, like, you're about to deal with somebody for your foreseeable career at this place? And it's like, dude, this is it. This is going to suck.
I don't know, like, right off the bat, right? Because I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I like to kind of try
Benefit this
people
dick.
out, see how things go, and
Bad
and then
boss.
you just kind of, as you start working together, you start seeing little nuances, right? They don't have any accountability. They're not organized well. They don't know how to. They just don't know how to manage. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to execute projects or how to follow up.
And you can see it, right?
Yeah,
That-
you can see it.
Yeah.
And so, right, so if you get along with this person, or if they're a good boss, you're going to try to help them out, right? And if they're not a good boss, and they're not there to put you in a position to succeed, then you're less likely to try to help that person out. You're just there to, I'm just there to do my job, and then I'm going to continue and move forward.
Well, and it's tough, right? Because, hey, this person is above you, but you can see that they're struggling or could be doing things a hell of a lot better. And what they're doing is not productive. It's not, you're not time managing stuff, right? Like, you suck. I could do your job way better than you.
That's a good point, Chris. So they're not
Yeah,
time
like-
managing stuff very well, right? So here's a good question for you, Johnny. You
Yeah.
have this great idea, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna sell a lot of parts this month,
Mhm.
right? So you go up to your boss and you present him this idea.
Mhm.
This guy looks at you, he's like, let's do this instead. And you know that
Mhm.
idea is gonna fail. Do you do what your
Oh,
direct
what?
supervisor says? Do you do what your direct supervisor says, or do you go around him and tell his boss your idea?
Very good. So I'm glad you asked. That's it's a common theme. It happens all the time, right? In your world, my world.
Absolutely.
But in one of our last episodes, we discussed this already, right? What is rule number 1 in the 48 Laws of Power? Does anyone remember? No one.
Crickets.
Jesus Christ. Rule number 1 is never outshine the boss. You are not going to get anywhere by doing this. I know, Chris, you and I discussed this. That's why you're making this face, because you've been in this situation. I know you don't. So that's why I want to redo this episode again soon. But rule number 1 is you never outshine the boss. You don't get ahead that way. That's never a good idea. What I like to do is, what I have done with my mom in the past, okay, is I do an inception, and
What'd you do with your
plan.
mom, Johnny?
You'd be surprised. What I do with a lot of moms. You know this, right? I'm sorry, Chris. Never mind. So, like I said, rule number 1: never outshine the boss. What you do is you plant the idea and say, "Hey, you always have a backup plan, right? Hey, this is what's going on." And you give them the reins. Hey, this is what's going on. What do you think about this? They're going to shoot it down, like, hey, check this out. Because if you know your job correctly, and you know that something's going to fail, you can always have a backup plan. And that's always a good rule of thumb, is always have an out, always have a second door to get out of. You should always have a backup plan, and let your boss know, hey, this is what's going on, because they'll figure it out, and they'll be like, hey, there's another rule. I don't know exactly which one it is. I'll place it up here when I know what it is. But essentially, it's, hey, just make sure that you're irreplaceable or something of that nature, and that's something you want them to depend on you a little bit more. And
Indispensable.
like most people, indispensable. People
Mhm.
want to be, you got to be indispensable, and so that's what it is. And if you keep hitting that nail, they'll be like, wow, this guy has their shit together. He's not outshining me. I'm going to take this guy with me, because more than about what you do, it's about who you know, right? And you never want to burn someone to burn that
It's
bridge.
about who you know, but also what type of boss and what position is it? Is this just, hey, this is the branch manager, this is the regional sales manager? Like, that's why I don't agree with it, because there's some people you can leapfrog, because this dude is only at this freaking spot. He's only the manager of this store, when, hey, I can show that my ideas is way better than this dude, and reach out to people slightly above them. There's always a chain of command. And I think if that chain is longer, then there is no problem leaping and trying to get ahead of that person who's directly right there. If that chain is longer, there's a lot more heads there. And I do not see an issue if you were busting your ass and doing your shit right, and dude is not doing anything above you to try to get ahead. I mean, of course, you gotta understand your situation and see how things are. But that is the reason why I don't agree with what you said. If it's, you got one boss ahead, Johnny, I completely agree with what you said. But I think when the chain of command goes so much longer and you are busting your ass, then fuck yeah, try to get above that person.
Before we get too far ahead, I wanted to kind of circle back really
Calm
quickly.
the fuck down.
Hey, a lot of the principles that Johnny was actually talking about before Chris went off the deep end there for a second was we did an episode called The 48 Laws of Power, and yours truly lost that episode somewhere in the interwebs.
The
and
shuffle.
We're going to be redoing it. But 48 Laws of Power is a great read if you are in management, not in management, in the workforce, not workforce. You just want something to read while you're on the toilet. I think there's some really good literature there that we'll share with you guys in a later episode. But going back to triggers, so Luis, maybe you can attest to this. Email etiquette, man. How do you know, right? You've got a bad boss. Like, can you give me an example, like an email example of your boss just like, okay, dude, are you serious? This is how we're gonna do this. You're like, for me,
Good.
it's the CC line, right?
Is it the CC? Not as what's my favorite? Hey, per my last email, right? So let's get into that lingo, right? So Luis, Xavier, you got it. I'm sorry to cut you off. But...
I wanted to get Luis's take on it, because I know he deals with a lot of email all day.
Well, it's not necessarily a boss, but I mean, just real quick, dude, I hate the reply all.
Oh God,
that kills me. Just an honorable mention, dude. Reply all. Hey, congratulations on your 4th anniversary, and then the whole freaking company says,
company.
Oh my God. Anyways, just especially, and I learned this from one of my favorite bosses, is the subject line, right? The subject line is very important in an email, because that's how you can find certain emails. That's how you can, pinpoint things.
Be the subject.
Exactly. So if you're dealing with a bad boss, they might leave that empty. Then you have no way of referencing it. Another thing is they're not specific in what they're asking you to do. I'll tell you guys a story. In my previous position, I had an issue with a exterior sign that needed to be replaced. The email simply stated, to the right side of the store, the logo is out. So created a work order, had the electrician come in, take a look at the logo on the right side of the store. The electrician said, hey, there's nothing wrong with this sign. Everything is working fine. Go talk to my boss. Hey, dude, I sent the electrician out here. Everything's fine. What's going on? No. It's the light on the right side of the building. It's out. I see it when I'm driving by the freeway.
Is this
Well,
at Target or
yes,
your current job?
yes.
Okay, Target.
Yeah. So like, you see it when you're driving on the side of the freeway. I was like, well, you can't see this sign on the right side of the freeway. Yeah. It's the big monument sign on the side of the building. I was like, oh, so it's not on the building. It's the monument sign that's out in the fucking freeway, away from the building. That's the sign that's not working. Yeah, that's what I said. It's not what you said. Anyways,
No.
finally figured it out.
Not
It
at
had nothing.
all
It
what
had
you
nothing to
said.
do. It had nothing to do with Target. That belonged to the property manager. When you get into leasing and stuff like that, it belonged to the property manager. But either way, we wasted an expense because he wasn't specific in his email as to what needed to be done.
Can I say one thing as a boss? What I've told my assistant is emails have the subject be correct, and in the email put as much information as you can in it so that it does not go back and forth, so they do not have any other questions. Put every single fucking piece of information you can fucking give them. Lead time, quick bills. Like, guys, here is every single piece of information you need to know, so you do not come back to me a million fucking times with a million different emails.
That seems like a rather long subject line.
I was gonna say, man, that sounds like a paragraph. You know,
Is
No,
it-
he said in the email. He said in the email.
Oh, in the email
Oh,
or in
in
the
the email,
subject?
sorry.
Email,
No.
but
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the
thank
you.
subject
Yeah,
at
you're
least
right.
be
Yeah.
accurate.
I apologize.
He said fill in the
A job
subject
name.
and then make
Yeah.
put as much
Very good.
information as you can
Got
in
it.
the email.
You know what saved me like 100-fold over is, same thing, making sure you're absolutely right, making sure that the subject line is 100% correct. I'm in the
Yep.
automotive industry, so I always put the last 8 of the VIN, the stock number,
Yep.
or repair order number, customer's
Yep.
last name. If I'm writing someone up, I'll put Xavier ECN for, employee concern notice or write up. That way I can look it up with a date. So if
Yep.
I'm picking it up, I'm like, hey, I wrote this guy up on XYZ day. Here it is. It's easy to find. HR is always impressed because if you have your ducks in a row, you're going to be fine, and that's essentially what it is. And actually for me too, having all that shit prepared, because if you got touched by the bar, the Bureau of Auto Repair, they want to make sure everything's in line because they are out for blood. They come in there when they come in, they're no joke, dude. They show up, they're like, hey, show me your repair order. I want to see signatures. I want to see how you properly did this. Show me this, show me that, show me the part numbers. If you're a mess, they smell the blood in the water and they're after you. So I will say
You're on
this,
top of your
my
shit.
attention to detail, I will attribute to I'm not sure if I've mentioned in the past, is Corey S. Actually, Corey Sanders. Thank you, Corey, if you're watching. I know you're not, but you taught me to be as descriptive as possible. Remember when we were arresting people, making sure we had that way if we had to go to court
What
after
was what was the thing called? There was
just an
there was
arrest
a name
report
for
in
it.
Sims.
Yeah, but there was a name for it. But go ahead.
Arrest report. It didn't matter. That's what it was. So you want to make sure they can't poke holes in whatever you're doing. So same things. You want to make sure that you don't get called into
Still would have
court.
never caught me stealing.
I would have caught you, Luis.
Nope.
Come on, bro. Right?
Y'all would have never caught me.
I already told you, Chris.
Back
You
from
would
a
have gotten
previous
away with it
episode, I'm
once.
just saying that again. Y'all would have never fucking caught me.
I'm telling you right now, you would have gotten
I'ma
away with
just
it
say
one
it.
time, and then that was it. The second time
Y'all
you went in
wouldn't
that
catch
store,
me, and then what I would do is I would
Come
put it
back.
in an email, and I would have the subject very detailed. I just stole from your store, bitches.
I will
we would
say,
have the
incriminating
video
evidence.
of us slamming you to the ground and putting you in cuffs.
Hey, not that we ever
Oh
did
my
that,
God.
but hey,
Never. It wasn't
Wait,
allowed.
did y'all
But
ever do that?
not on camera.
I will say, Target built some pretty good leaders out of their.
They did. Their business college was I want to say second to none, which is why people would go there for a year and a half, have Target pay for their shit, and then they would take off. They'd go run other companies and be
Yeah.
executives somewhere else. You know what I
There's
mean?
a
They were
lot of-
very good at it.
There are a lot of skills that we learn there for
hey,
sure.
You know, mentioning I have a story I want to tell about leadership. I mentioned it in one of the episodes before, but it's lost. It's the story, you know, dealing with a rough boss, because one of my rough bosses was Sean over at 1426. You guys remember all the SFT stuff. We had our metrics, making sure key metrics were taken care of, making sure we were green with the bathrooms, making sure the floors were shiny, all the lights were taken care of, just making sure all that stuff, the KPIs were good and taken care of. Before he got there, when everything was sharp, I was good with everything. All the district managers like me. They're, hey, you know, Johnny does a good job. Everything's set up properly. You know, all this stuff. However, when Sean when Sean took over, you know, one of my executives, who was, you know, Paulin, who's a good friend of mine, he would always let me know, like, hey, you know what, this guy's talking shit about you. You know, hey, you know, what have you done? And then I don't remember who it was. What was our district manager? I know we had so many, Luis. He drove like a Porsche or something.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah,
Michael Kong.
Michael Kong. Mike, you're a
Yeah.
great guy. But Michael would tell me too. He'd show up and be like, "Hey, man, Sean seems like he has it out for you. You know, your KPIs are good, but he's every time I ask him, you know, hey, to be more specific about what you're doing, he can't nail it down. And he just says, hey, he just doesn't seem like Johnny's working," which I attribute to me being happy-go-lucky, doing my stuff, knocking things out. But I finally
and also saying no, right? Because the biggest thing, the biggest flaw for a PMT or a SFT or whatever they're called now is
Yeah.
if you did not help the store, even though we had a 40-hour work week,
correct.
if we told the store no or put in a work order, we were no longer team players. We weren't doing our jobs. But
Correct.
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. That's what I'm talking about. So how do you get across something like this? And it goes into my next subject. So I figured it out, and he, you know, Paulin let me know one day. He was like, hey, you know, he's really about this door, you know, one of the receiving doors. You know, he says every time he walks by it, it's always a fucking problem. And so I was like, what do you mean? He's like, look, well, you know, it had the guards on it. So when, you know, the flow team would hit the cart into the door, it would hit it. But if they hit it at a certain spot, sometimes some of the paint would chip. You know, the one right by soft lines, right, Luis?
Yeah.
Xavier, you guys know 1426.
Absolutely.
So I was talking with one of the team leads back then, Luis. I don't know if you were there for, do you remember Alma?
Probably
No.
not.
You know, Alma Dick
I
in your
remember
mouth?
Alma. God.
I'm just joking. So anyway, it's called the Red Door. So Sean would be like, hey, dude, this, you know, Johnny's never taking care of this door. He doesn't do shit. The door would always be chipping. So what I did is I figured it out. I was like, all right, this is all he fucking cares about because he walks by it all the time, right? So I got my paint and I always kept it in a little bucket. And every single day I'd walk by, if I saw something white, I'd paint it. Just make sure I touched it up every single fucking day. Didn't matter what I did. I could do nothing for the rest of the day. But as long as Sean saw me painting that door and keeping that door looking crisp, he was happy. So figuring out what your triggers are for your bosses or, you know, executives or someone higher up, I think goes and speaks volumes. So I figured out what his things were, and I took that to the bank for the rest of my life. You know, I figure out what my boss's red doors are, what they want done, and go from there.
Johnny.
Right. And so actually everything turned around once I did that. So I took care of the door. He's like, oh, Johnny's always on top of it. You know, he's always doing this. And I never said
All right.
no, because
Johnny really didn't do shit. He painted this door, but he on top of his shit.
But Johnny's right? So like for me, I manage properties throughout different cities, right? And what I learn is I learn the different property managers, the different owners. I learn their hotspots, what they focus on at these properties. And when I have my crews out there, I make sure before you leave this site, if anything else, you make sure this is done or this or whatever their hot items are. And then you don't have any problems. You don't have any issues because 95% of the site can be clean. But if this little area that they see when they're on site, or this is the area they check when they're there, if that area is not done, then you might as well, you're going to get I don't think anybody was here today.
Right. Hey, you worked your ass off, right? But you didn't do this one spot, and that's what they really care about. That it's then, hey, you didn't do shit, right?
nobody
Like
was here.
Johnny, you know, it's a great fucking point. Certain people look for certain things, and you need to realize that. You need to realize what your boss is looking for and make sure that you do those things, because bosses have certain weaknesses and they're looking for other people to fulfill those weaknesses to make them look better, right?
So Chris, hey, while you're talking about that, because you're absolutely right. So that's what I do. So Chris, what's your weakness, you know, as a leader? Because everyone has one. I'm not hating on you, but do you know your weakness?
I'm not the most fucking organized person whatsoever. I'm great fucking with people, and I do things, and I need somebody to help me be a little more organized with certain things. I'm not going to go into detail because I'm a great fucking person.
You are fantastic. I love you.
You know, we all have our weaknesses.
Nice,
though.
Chris.
And as a boss, that's what you're looking for the people, you know, below you to do. And one thing that I wrote down that's kind of different is when you're a boss of just a few people and when you're a boss over a lot of people, I think it's very different. And this is why, and this is what kind of got me thinking about this. When you have a lot of people under you, you cannot be as personable. You can't show yourself or show weaknesses as much as you can if you only have a select few under you. And I just thought this was, I've seen this in action. And I thought this was a crazy dynamic about it. I don't know what your thoughts on this are, or if you've seen this. Like,
That's interesting. That's an interesting take, Chris, because I want to disagree with you on that. I think if you have a boss or a director, vice president that is candid with everyone, I mean, it doesn't have to be all the time, but they are personable with the people around them. I think that's a huge morale booster.
Yeah.
Johnny, I mean, does your GM go around and talk to everybody, like every employee,
generic,
or is he just
very
stay
generic
in his office?
He does the you know, he knows a handful of people's names. He knows my name, Luis's name. He called my parts manager. His name is Greg. He called him Gary for a long time.
Yes,
you know, that's about it. He knew
that's a true leader.
He knew Bosma's name. You know, Bosma, if you're watching, she takes pride in that because she was one of the only other people who watched it. But you know, she's you know, a girl, and she's also Middle Eastern, just like he is. So it is what it is. And I agree with you to a degree. You know, being candid. Xavier, you said that right, being candid a little bit, because I am. You know, I'm friendly with people, but I keep it pretty good. I ask questions, I joke around, but I keep it very PG because I'm not trying to lose my job, and because people turn on you quickly. I mean, they really fucking do. You know, so in lieu of, you know, the weaknesses, so that's one of my weaknesses is accounting, and I know this for a fact, right? So as much as it is,
know that for a fact.
Yeah, accounting is terrible. I'm terrible at math, and that's why I have a calculator. That's why I use my phone. I double check. I use all the formulas in Excel. Thank God for Luis, because Luis and I are almost polar opposites, which is why we fit together so well at work. He does all the accounting, and I do all the people work and, you know, all the whip cracking because I have to. You know, he's the nice guy, and he gets to do all the accounting. He shows me stuff. I try to absorb as much as I can, but it's like throwing water on a rock, dude. I'm just like, yeah, dude, just yeah. So I surround. Yeah, you know, part of being a good leader to me again is I surround myself with people who, you know, fill in those gaps, because I want to make it's not about me being a complete person as much as it is my department.
That's exactly what it is, Johnny. Right? And my bad for clowning on your math skills. I apologize, but that's what's smart, right? Like you realize what your deficiencies are, where you're not as good, and you surround yourself with those smart people. That's what a smart freaking leader does.
He sounds like he has a very good, healthy relationship with his boss.
Who, me?
You know, Johnny, yeah. You and Luis sound like you guys can ham and egg it pretty good together.
Wait, is Luis your boss, Johnny?
Oh yeah, he's my boss.
Luis is your boss.
Not Jerby, Luis.
I mean, go ahead, Luis.
No, I was going to say these guys were talking about their weaknesses, and Johnny brought up something, and Chris kind of brought it up too about finding people that can complete you. And I was thinking about you, Xavier, because we have a lot of conversations about managing and things that go on, and I couldn't help but think that might be a weakness of yours, and you wanting to take on more than you should and not relying on other people to help you where they should.
Wait, what? I missed that. I kind of zoned out.
No, I think Xavier heard me. He
Well,
was
I
getting ready
mean,
to answer.
the thing is taking on you. If you take on too much, you're destined to fail at some
Right.
point, right?
That is
So
true.
you need to be able to. We're using this stupid term at work is when you want to eat an elephant whole, you take a bite out of it at a time. You don't eat it whole. So you try to manage your expectations and manage your goals as you're trying to knock out everything that you're taking on. I think
Well, I
not
think
having.
that's
Go ahead.
sorry, Dave. That's a fucking horrible example.
Is it?
No, I'm just saying, right? Because
Nobody can fucking eat an elephant.
no. What I'm saying
That's
is
what
that
Chris got from it. No one could eat an elephant. That's great.
I was thinking that you were gonna go like if you're gonna eat
And
an
that's
elephant.
it for the guys today, guys. Don't eat a fucking elephant. It's a bad idea.
Right.
Just eat the whole goddamn thing at one time.
No,
Leave a comment, like, subscribe. I enjoy every one of you guys. All right. This is
No,
the last
what-
time I'll be on the show.
no, what I'm saying is like
Fuck elephants.
if
Go
the
ahead,
whole
Luis.
if the whole concept is to not take on too much, just because it takes you fucking 15 days to eat the elephant doesn't mean that there couldn't have been something else you could have done. I mean, you could have called Johnny, you could have called me, you could have called Chris to help you finish the elephant. Like,
Well, I thought you said it was just me. I have to do this on my
that's
own.
what yeah, exactly. But I think, and we've talked about this before,
I
is
may have
you have
misunderstood the
you have a
question, and I'm
tendency
sorry.
of taking on more than you should and not really loosening the reins on the people that you have that are working for you.
Oh, the trust for the people that you're working for.
And
There you go.
Delegating is that what you're saying?
There you go.
You know who's a master delegator and I learned this from them a long time ago was Johnny.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush.
I had to throw him kudos on that one. I didn't realize how useful of a skill it was. I thought Johnny was just an asshole, and he's like, oh, he just doesn't want to work. He's
No,
one.
you're
I mean,
right.
it's-
I am an asshole.
I mean,
Right?
Two,
Well,
two
right.
things
No,
can
I
be
mean,
equally true.
Luis, come on, right? So, but now that I'm in this role where you're managing multiple people and you have multiple responsibilities and tasks and projects and and all this homework and all this other shit that you got to do, you're kind of doomed if you don't delegate.
Right.
And it's spinning the tasks back to your employees, your direct reports, as like hey, you need to do this task as part of your your core responsibilities, but also here's a development opportunity for you.
Mhm.
I will get you where you need to go if you can get this project done, because I think you can do it. So do you want to be a senior? Well, I think you can manage this project. And
Bet
that
you guys
kinda
can't build a
spin.
side cap.
X, can I ask you this? Because delegating is difficult because you need to have some trust in the people that you're delegating to. Because when you're in a higher position, it always comes back to you, right?
Right.
So you delegate to somebody, and then they get you whatever information or whatever task they asked you. You then still have to go over this information, right? Before you send it out.
Right.
You would hope that you wouldn't have to go over it.
In a perfect world, yes.
That doesn't always happen.
Absolutely.
Trust but verify.
Very good. Who taught you that? Do you remember?
Tim.
I learned it from Corey.
What is
and I
the
think-
principle behind trust but verify, John?
I'm
What
glad
is
you
that?
asked. Oh man, because I get chewed up all the time at work. It's what pisses me off is when my employees tell me that now. They're like, "Oh, well, trust but verify." I'm like, "Fuck you. Go
I
sit
taught
your
you
ass
that,
down, Bossma. I'm
motherfucker."
talking to you, you piece of shit. I'm fucking teaching you all the shit that I know, and you dare use my powers against me." But trust but verify is this, Luis. I'm gonna give you task A to do. I'm going to trust that you're going to get it done, but I'm going to verify that it is completed. So I'm not going to say, hey, go get this done and never come back to it. I'm going to give you the task, And Luis at work, he taught me this one. Just, you know what, being a manager is just a bunch of fucking key phrases and things like that. That's essentially all it is, because that's all I am now. I have a bunch of key phrases I have for
buzzwords.
anything, buzzwords, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Luis taught me this. He's hey, inspect what you expect. So that's what that means too. So if I expect you to do something, I'm going to inspect that the job is done and completed the right way. So that's what your role is as a manager. You know, I mean, that's what I do. I delegate what needs to get done, and I expect it to be. And I'm going to trust that you're getting it done because I do trust my employees. However, it's my job to verify that it's complete. So that's what I do. I trust that you're going to get it done, but I'm going to verify that the job is complete, because just like what Chris said, it's going to come back 100% to me, because if it's not done, it is my fault, right? And I'm not going to lose my job because someone can't park a car right, or someone can't hang keys up in the right spot. So it's a fine line between, hey, micromanaging someone and verifying things that are done. You know
I was
what
just
I mean?
going to say that, Xavier kind of started off with micromanaging, and when you trust somebody, you're tasking somebody with a task, but you're not telling them how to do it. You're just telling him this is what needs to be done, and then you're just letting them go. And then once they've told you that it's complete, you go and you verify the task. And if it wasn't done the way it was supposed to be done, then that's a teaching moment. And if it is, then great. Now you know that you have somebody that you can trust to complete task.
So,
Like in what, Among Us?
Sure.
Complete tasks?
sus.
He's sus as shit, man.
No, those tasks are meaningless. Just like
Like
the
everything we do,
meaningless
right?
fucking task that Mandalorian did in the first episode.
Hey,
Come on.
dude. Come on.
Meaningless
I'm watching that as
fucking
soon as I'm done
tasks.
with this episode.
Don't you knock Mando.
Don't talk shit about Mando, dude.
I
Hey.
fucking love it. I fucking love it. But I'm
Love this
sorry,
dick. This dick.
Johnny. I don't fucking love your chode. Come on now.
Hey, let's talk
Hey.
about something else that's controversial before we wrap this
My
episode
bad,
up.
Johnny. I love you.
So?
Right?
I love you and your mimosas, but
What about the chode?
Mandalorian, I don't
Chode.
fucking love that
Not
show
the
too.
chode.
Not the
I don't
chode.
fucking love your chode.
Hey,
I love your nipples, bro.
So
I love your
Chris,
nipples. I will
The
always
pecs.
fucking love your
There
fucking nipples.
it
There we go.
is.
There we go.
This video is getting
There
taken
we
down
go.
before we go up. God
No.
damn
Awesome,
it.
dude.
Sorry, Johnny. You got a lot of editing to do
Hey.
now.
Can you put a little sensor, a little pasty on that?
But why? Okay, like this?
It's the gold star. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, it won't be a gold
last
star.
thing before we go, I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were on. I think everybody has somebody that works for them here. So, what are your thoughts on public chastisement? Your employer, your direct report. And this has happened to me, so I just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts are, because I don't do this. But your employee, your direct report, clearly disobeys you, doesn't do a task. You trusted, you verified, they failed. And do you reprimand them out in the open in the public for everyone to see? Or do you do it behind closed doors? Which one is more effective and why? Mr. Chris Bennett.
Well, when you first said public chastisement, I don't know. Honestly, my mind went into a dirty spot. I didn't know
Thank you,
what
Chris.
the fuck you were talking about. I completely got it now.
What happens when Johnny exposes his nipples?
Yeah.
Public chastisement right there.
No, I don't think so. There's no need for that. I mean, I try to think, how would I like to be, how would I like to have this info, right? Like, but it's also different because I want to say this, I have one fucking person under me, right? If my assistant fucks up, I'm going to take her in. I'm going to, tell her how she fucked up to her face so other people don't hear it. And honestly, though, when she fucks up, like with customers, when customers call, I fucking take blame. I don't fucking put shit on my assistant. I don't do that.
You own it.
Oh, hey, I fucked up. I own it. I make the big
Even
money.
if it was her fault.
I own it. It's her fault. Hey, I fucked up. I'm not gonna do that to her. So
Johnny.
Very good. I'm gonna say two things. Okay, I'm gonna say something now, and then
Push it
come
back.
back to me, because I have two things, right? So
Okay.
Xavier, first and foremost, what I do is, if I'm gonna chastise someone, what I do is it's always behind closed doors. It's always off stage because you don't want to
Always.
do anything in public. However, what I'll do, especially wherever I'm at, I will call you to my office in front of everybody. Xavier, can I see you in my office? Come on in.
Right.
So everyone knows that you're coming to my office,
Yeah.
and there's always a tone behind it, so people know, like, ooh,
Power play.
no one knows why. Okay,
Yeah.
because that's between you and I, Xavier. I'm letting you know exactly what's going on. I'm putting you up on game. Okay, and then when you go out there, you can tell them whatever you want. Yeah, he's fucking behind. So that's what I do. Always behind closed doors. But again, you want to make a spectacle of certain things. So that's
I will
all
come
it
back
is.
to you because I think there's some more that you can elaborate on the second piece of
Mhm.
that.
I
Me
really, I
being
think
me.
that's great, Johnny. I think that right, like let people know, but you don't have to have the whole fucking dialogue for everybody to be out there and get their whole fucking cheese may. But people know what's going on, and the cheese may is already gonna fucking be out there. They're
Information
already gonna
is
know what
currency.
the fuck you said.
Luis, do you
Information is
believe in
currency.
the public?
So my situation is a little different because all my guys are out in the field.
You go, you chase them down and start screaming at them from your truck, bro.
No,
Whitney,
so
wow!
you know, we have these we have these like tailgate discussions or whatnot. And if it's really serious, then I do call them into the office, but there's nobody around to see this happen. And there's very few people in the office as it is already. I like using word of mouth, right? If I know these guys talk with one another, and I have a tendency of if I call someone out for something, then I follow up with the rest of the guys, and they have a tendency to pass the message along to one another.
Word of mouth, very good.
Johnny, coming back to you, right? You
Mhm.
just threw me out of your office after you just publicly
Mhm.
acknowledged for me to come into your office. Are you counting on me to tell everybody what happened in the office? Are you counting that on me to say, "Oh yeah, dude, I just got my ass chewed out
No,
by Johnny"?
not at all. So, I just leave it there because now I just lit a match and no one knows where that fire is going to go.
Yep.
Okay, there's just pure speculation. It's between Xavier. It's between me and you. I'm not going to say anything, and you know that. That's not my job. My job is to make sure I course correct you and do what you got to do. Whatever you hear out there, again, information is currency, folks. That's what I deal in and work. Wherever you go, information is the money that makes the world go round. Now I'm listening. I want to see who says stuff. I want to see who's mentioning things, who's saying things. Is Xavier telling other people? Because if I hear exactly what I told Xavier, maybe Xavier told someone, right? So
Exactly.
now you're saying stuff and I'm listening for things. But what I was getting to, because that was a good question though, but Luis, when we were at Target, when we were undercovers, right?
Mhm.
When we popped an internal, how did we escort them out? An internal.
Where
I'm sorry, folks.
internally did you
Two things.
pop this?
So
look, ideally, you
Uh-huh.
wanted to walk this person in cuffs
Uh-huh.
out through the front lanes, out the front door. Occasionally,
example of.
make an example out of them, show them that they're going to get that. This is what happens if you think you're getting away with it. You're not. We're going to get you eventually.
Wait, popped an internal. Somebody from Target was stealing.
So let me break this down. So an internal would be anyone, an employee that was stealing. It would be merchandise, money, something of that nature. So what we would do, and his name was Bob T. I'm not going to say his last name, but he was the master of it. He was the one who taught me when I first became an APS at Target. He made it a statement. So especially during the holidays when we had all the employees around, what he would do, because you always have to get the store manager approval whenever you pop an internal, and arrest an employee. What we would do is he was like, okay, Johnny, Tim, are you guys gonna, take down X person today? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, let's plan. He would set it up. Hey, their shift's gonna be here. We're gonna do it at this time. He would call a team huddle by the front lanes at whatever time it was. Okay, so we would pull that person into the office, and then we'd communicate with Bob and tell Bob, hey, they're wrapping up with the police department right now. Police are coming. They're doing their thing. He's like, why don't you let me know about maybe 10 minutes before? I'm like, okay. So we'd let him know. You hear him over the walkie. He'd call the entire store for a team huddle right by the front lanes, right when we're walking out the team member, so everyone can see. And Target's pretty loud, especially during the holiday season. You hear people,
Yep.
there's murmuring, the registers are going, people are walking, people are talking, sneezing, coughing, laughing.
Y'all have
It's-
confetti go off when
it's
you taking them out?
Absolutely quiet. I mean, it is
Pin drop.
silent. You can hear a pin drop, right? And everyone looks, everyone sees this person. And Bob, I swear to God, man, he was just a master. He'd be talking about his huddle, just like he didn't see anything happen. He'd keep it going. He was like, all right, folks, this is what we're focusing on today. Make sure you're zoning your caps. Make sure you're doing that. Make sure you don't hit your 5th hour. And, if there's anything else you guys might be doing that you shouldn't be doing, I highly recommend that it's something that you stop. And we're going to get to it. Make sure you guys are taking your lunches and he'd keep going, and no one be listening to him at all.
Right.
Everyone's stopping and
Right.
everyone's watching, employee X being walked out in handcuffs, being put into the back of a police car and taken away. And all theft would stop at our store for like a week. Just absolutely
Brilliant.
fucking zero. I
Brilliant.
mean, the cash registers are 100% accurate. We're not missing a dime. I'm not finding empty
Yeah.
packages in the back room. It is just
Oh, yeah.
fucking complete and utter, just perfect, right? And then, people get back to it and then we go from there. Because why? Because what Corey taught me again, one of the number one reasons people steal is opportunity.
Right.
Opportunity is a bitch. Opportunity gets us all.
Opportunity and thinking they can get
So-
away with shit.
So wrapping right back to what we were talking about, Xavier, that's the second thing. So sometimes you want to make a spectacle of something, but I think it's Gangs of New York. I'll say it this way: when he says he's going to kill Bob the Butcher, you don't kill King behind closed doors. You kill him in the open court so everyone can see.
Exactly.
So sometimes you have
It's
to make
effective.
an example
Right.
of someone.
Effective. I don't know. I thought we covered a lot of good things today, guys. I learned a lot. And for those of you guys that are watching, hopefully you
Taking
guys
notes.
picked up on a couple of stuff too, because it'll help you out there. I mean, hopefully you guys learn from our mistakes, our battles, our experiences, and apply them to your daily lives. Because if you don't, you could end up walking out in front of a team huddle and Target in handcuffs. And that would be bad.
Yeah, we don't want that for our viewers.
Absolutely not. So
I-
hey
We
everybody.
are more than 5.
We do got 5. We got 6. One of our viewers is having a daughter, based on one of our older episodes, and we're gonna have 6 viewers. So congrats to the guys. All right,
Hey,
Congratulations.
like, subscribe, leave a
darling.
comment.
please.
See you guys next time. All
One
right.
comment.
Please do.
If you like to be micromanaged, you are a masochist and you're sick.